Welcome to Women, Men, and Relationships. I'm JJ Flazanes.
And I am the co-pilot of this show. I am Doug Sandler.
You're also the co-pilot of this car.
That's right. We are navigating our way between Santa Cruz and Los Angeles, where I live.
Well, you know, we podcast from bed. We podcasted at the dining room table. We podcasted at the beach.
Have we podcasted on an airplane yet?
We have not podcasted on an
so
airplane.
we have not yet been a member of the 35,000 foot club then.
Well, no, not in any way, shape, or form, actually, except to sit on an airplane seat and travel. But I wanted to record while we were driving, A, because we had 5 hours in the car, but because I wanted to share some of the things that were fresh from the weekend, from the event that we just celebrated, which was New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and we recorded so many shows, and you and I just did our very first combined process of 2019 together, and I was inspired to want to share that with people.
Okay, well, all of those things and so much more on today's episode of
Women, Men, and Relationships.
I felt like a real broadcaster there for just a moment.
Well, you are a real broadcaster, honey.
You know, we own a media company.
You really do.
Wow, that's
really
incredible to think that we actually are.
I don't own a media company.
Oh, well, I do.
You do, right? Eventually, I might own it, but I'm kidding. I might be taking over. Watch out, Strickland.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding.
Okay, well, you know, I know where my strength is, and my strength is in building relationships. Maybe not in business ownership.
Well, we will see. It is going well, and it will continue to go well. But let's just recap. Last week, you heard us talking with Michael Neely. He is the host of Consciously Speaking, and also By This Not That, and of Something to Whine About.
Lots of wine.
And we had plenty of that. And hopefully by the time you're listening to this, there will be another episode that has been aired on that channel.
But no more wine because you're on this keto.
Yeah, no more wine for me for a couple weeks. Need to kind of do a little bit of a detox and a cleanse to get my body. You know, I think that when you're dealing with your health and when you're dealing with celebrations, for those of you that do listen to the other channels or do have anything to do with my fitness business and health business and wellness business.
And how dare you listen to Nice Guys on Business podcast. I'm telling your mother.
Well, that one they listen to kill the time. But when you're listening to information
Wow.
from me, it was a joke. Relax.
I know. Everybody relax. Just calm down.
Everyone just, what do you normally say?
Calm the fuck
down.
down.
Calm the fuck down. Okay. But if you do listen to anything health-related from me, I'm about balance, and I'm not, even though a lot of you may think I'm extreme, and some people could never live the lifestyle that I live because you think it'd feel too restrictive. I never feel restricted, and I enjoy all of the things.
What do you mean restrictive? There's no... I don't think at all you live a restrict. I mean, I guess people could say that.
They'd be like, you don't eat gluten, you don't eat dairy.
Yeah, but look how much better I feel because I don't eat dairy and I don't eat gluten and I don't, I limit my processed sugar and I actually look at ingredients and I actually create menu items that are healthy for me. You know, I prefer feeling like shit.
Well, I think it's because people that don't cook or don't really explore food don't know what's available to them. I mean, you, since living with me, have experienced a dairy-free spinach and artichoke dip, and you've had dairy-free homemade cheeses as well as store-bought cheeses. You've had gluten-free everything, and but you live with me, so you get a first-hand taste test of things that I'm trying and things that and I'm a foodie. If it doesn't taste good, I'm not going to eat it. However, hold on. If it doesn't taste good when it comes to food, I will drink, I will take supplements.
Oh my God,
and
the
all kinds of
probiotic.
things.
Holy shit. Whatever that was, that sauerkraut red thing shot. Whoa. I don't want to do that anymore. I almost lost it right on the table there.
So if you're not a sauerkraut person,
take it in a
I
pill.
am,
Let me take it in a pill.
You can take it in a pill as long as you take it. But when it comes to those kinds of things, herbs, Chinese herbs, if it's good for me and if it needs to do what it needs to do, it's fine. I'll just shoot it and it's fine. It's not a question of it because it's not supposed to taste good. It's not something I'm sipping. But anyway, back to I believe in balance. I believe in finding what works for you and what is also scientifically proven to be healthy and that your body needs and how your body responds. And part of that is personal, but some of that's science. Some of you don't realize what you're doing to your body over time. But this is not the nutrition show. I just wanted to comment on what Doug just said, in case some of you think I'm that person who does, because we had that conversation on our wine tasting trip about how some people do food programs only to lose a few pounds and to go on a diet temporarily, but it's never supposed to be a lifestyle. And by the way, you're going to hear background noise because we are driving. Sorry, I can't cut that out. So anyway, we had a wonderful trip up with Michael, and the last show we had last week, we was supposed to be a short 30-minute show and ended up being almost double the
An
time.
hour later.
Because I thought the conversation was worth it, and we'll do it again because we were talking about pretty important things. And so just before I didn't want to ignore that last week you and I, left people with this pretty deep, intense conversation about relationships and divorce. Do you have anything you want to add now in reflection, or how can we move forward with that? Anything you...
Yes, avoid relationships and divorce at all costs. If you can do that, you're in really good shape. But you'll also be a very lonely person, too.
What did you think about my comment about what I said to Michael about, I believe, because he said, I don't think that humans are designed to be in a relationship. And there's part of me that believes that.
Well, that was Michael saying that.
No, I know. And there's a part of me that agrees with him on one level, but I'm going to call bullshit on, and what I said to him was about that I think people yearn to be known and seen and have a connection that is deep and profound, and that we're not going to get there when you just, up and leave people so quick because it gets too hard.
Well, but I do want to get back to the comment just for a moment that that someone that was near and dear to you made. I didn't think that relationship should be this hard. I didn't think it would be this hard. So the reality of all relationships is that unless you're dealing with yourself and sometimes battling with yourself and the decisions that you make, sometimes that's hard too. But since you can't leave yourself, when you're having a relationship with somebody and the words in your head are, I just don't think it should be this hard, you're attracting more of, I don't think it should be this hard into your life. I think that everything is going to require work, effort, energy to get beyond. I mean, and once you get past that honeymoon phase, I think that I think it is. It's all about the work. It's all about the improving. And if you play it like a game, like what can I do to improve my relationship today, or what can I do to better where I am today with my partner, I think that you're going to open up the world of possibility and opportunity for yourself more so than ever before. As opposed to approaching life as, I just don't think it should be this hard. Well, fuck that. It's going to be hard. Life is hard. No one promised you that this was going to be an easy ride along the way.
Okay, well, hold on about the life is hard part. I think that in order to have transformation, or in order to have growth, in order to achieve some of the things in life that you want to achieve, that there's what you might perceive as something that's uncomfortable. And I don't know that I believe it has to be looked at as it's hard, because there are people who will never do anything hard. But you get a choice of whether or not...
Well, just know that there are going to be roadblocks along the way that are not roadblocks. The only reason they're roadblocks is when you see them as roadblocks. Look at them as opportunity. Instead of seeing a speed bump and saying, oh shit, I got to slow down, look at it and say, it gives me an opportunity to slow down, maybe get up a little bit higher and see life from a different perspective.
So let me give you let me paint a picture for some of you who are maybe in between, listeners that might listen to Spirit, Purpose, and Energy. I would say that group of people, while I don't know all of them individually, a lot of them are seemingly really interested in self-reflection and growth and taking responsibility. Now, you're listening to this show, which, the title is Women, Men, and Relationships. You didn't necessarily come in knowing or thinking you're going to get a slap in the face of self-realization. Maybe you did. Maybe you want to hear why your partner's wrong. Maybe you want to hear information that justifies your position, and that could be perfectly fine. But when it comes to, I'm going to give you an example of your choices in life, right? You're always going to, by default, you either choose to accept things, work with them, and allow them to teach you and to grow you. You can look at life as that you are co-creating with life, and that you are the creator of your own reality, which means you're responsible in some way, shape, or form. And that's not to make you wrong or bad, because I still also believe in soul contracts, and that my soul contract was over for the way that it was showing up in the world. And I'm okay with that. And it was purposeful, and it needed to happen. in the way. Yeah, Doug's taking a picture, and my knee is driving this car right now because I'm using my left hand to make Italian gestures as I'm speaking.
I'm not sure this is a very safe environment to be podcasting.
Anyway,
but we'll work with this until we either have an accident or get killed.
You are either a victim or you are taking responsibility. Those are your only two choices. There is no third choice. You either believe that things happen to you and you do not have control over them, or you believe you are the creator of your own reality. So if you choose that things just happen, you are setting yourself up for a very difficult life.
Yes.
And I'll give you an example of a couple that I know that have decided, based on their lack of consciousness and their fears and their unwillingness to change.
Finally, we get to hear some names.
Nope,
okay.
not
Oh,
names.
come on.
No names.
Come on.
There was a husband and a wife, and they're probably in their early 70s or late 60s. And somewhere in the marriage, they have 2 kids. Somewhere in the marriage, he cheated. Her daughter found out and caught him. Her daughter had a weight problem for a very, very long time. Might still have, I'm not sure. And I was always curious as to why. And then when I found out that the daughter was the one that found the father cheating, I understood the emotional eating. And I understood the weight and probably the pain and the guilt and the sadness. So the mom took up smoking. I don't know if that's at some point when she decided she was going to be angry. Obviously, I don't know what was happening prior to that situation, but so they basically at that point, I don't know how long that lasted. Oh, by the way, he was an alcoholic, but then he got some help. He no
Sounds like
longer
a wonderful set of
this
circumstances going on here.
This is a typical, I hate to say it, Midwestern relationship.
Okay.
I mean, it happens everywhere, but okay. So, but we have very, not good communication, not good connection, not even, I mean, I don't think that how they got together was, she was a rescuer at the time. He was a patient of hers. He had issues. She had to help him, and then they got married. So it wasn't, like even playing field. She was in the rescuer role, which we're going to talk about at Releasing, or what we were talking about last week at Releasing What Weighs You Down, that you might have access to here in the near future, but you actually have it on a lot of the shows I've done with Lynn Forrest, so the information's here. But she was in rescuer mode, and he was probably in victim mode at the time. So fast forward, we have now, it's been years and years and years of, she has been smoking because now smoking and overeating and all that stuff is a repression. It's a way to repress your feelings. So because the emotion was never dealt with, the emotion was repressed through smoking. They do not like each other. They have no relationship except that they're married, and they both have never been divorced, and I know they don't have sex. I don't even think they sleep in the same room, and they definitely don't vacation together. There's really no relationship. They spend no time together.
Sounds pretty sad.
It's very sad, but if you would ask them why don't they get divorced, it'd be, well, what's the point? And probably there's a financial piece involved. But because of the grief, because of the pain, there was pneumonia. She ended up in the hospital a couple times, and she almost died. She gave up smoking. Now she has a heart problem. So let's just look at this from an emotional standpoint. Like, no fucking shit, you have a heart problem. Your heart was broken, and you did nothing about healing it, and you stay in a bad situation. Why is that? Because maybe you don't believe that you can be happy? So if you do nothing and you are in a victim role, your life will continue to unravel and be shit. So on the flip side, the benefit for me of all the work I've done, let's go through it. So the work I've done, I have learned how to lovingly detach, about not being defensive when someone yells at me or when someone blames me for something. And that is a strength and a power that I really, really enjoy having. It means I'm calm. It means I'm loving. It means I'm understanding. And it means I don't take it personally. I've also learned, and because of that, I sleep fine. My health is good. I'm happier. People think I'm really calm. I'm a really great person to talk to and to help and to coach other people on how to do what I've done and what therapies, what modalities need to be had. I've also manifested some pretty great things in my life, and Doug is probably the best accumulation and manifestation of that. And even prior to that, my husband was a great manifestation of that. That was exactly, and it was the right thing every day until the day that it wasn't.
I don't mind being a trophy, just so you know. I'm okay
Great,
being
you are my trophy. What else does it bring me? So healing also brings me peace. It brings me health. It brings me happiness. It brings me the things that I want, which are deep connections, because I'm unwilling to, and I understand my own boundaries. I'm unwilling to be a people pleaser anymore. I'm unwilling to be in situations because I should by someone else's, standards. And because of that, I live a pretty damn happy life. I was in a happy position before. I just did it on my terms, and I tried the best I could to make a connection, but I didn't blame him for anything that was going on at that time. I understood, I had compassion. I still do. So you have the choice. I know people think it's a lot of work, but it's going to be equally as painful on the other side from all the ailments and negative shit you attract.
True.
Because you believe that you're a victim to circumstance. Any thoughts about that, Doug?
All of those things true, but you have not posed a question yet.
Well, you can have a thought about something without me posing a question.
I was thinking that there was a question that was coming. I thought you had said I want to hear your feedback or your opinion, or I want to go back to something that Michael said.
Well, what I went back to talk about that Michael said was about the connection, about do you believe that my disagreement with Michael is that the phrase we're not meant to be with just one person, like on a biological level for the rest of our life. We weren't designed that way. And I'm not saying that I believe in all the structure of marriage from that legal standpoint or from the religious standpoint either, okay? What I think transcends both of those is that I think that the commitment that you make in a marriage or in a partnership, and it doesn't even have to be legally married, but in a partnership, is that I think it will bind you in a way that is harder to get out of, so that way you aren't going to bail when it gets hard. So that way you do commit on a level to say, I want someone to know me. I want to be who I really am at my deepest level and share that with somebody.
Well, I think just the fact that you do that brings you closer to your partner. I think just being able to share everything, and I've said this to you a number of times, I have absolutely nothing to hide. There's nothing in my world that is not an open book. At least I don't think there is. Nothing has reared its head over the last many months that we've been seeing each other that I would say, I guess I don't really want to talk about that. That's kind of a hidden gem that I have back there.
I found one. You're not aware, and we're not going to talk about it right now.
Wait. You can't, okay. All right.
Only because it was just in the moment. I don't think it's something you wouldn't talk about. It's just in the moment that it came up. I don't want to talk about that right now. I think that in a different, situation that you'd say, okay,
stay tuned for
I'm
future
ready.
episodes of Women, Men, and Relationships, where we get Doug's skeleton pulled out of the closet
it's not a
to reveal.
skeleton.
And you're probably going to bring it up right after we stop recording. I'm going to be like, well, why didn't you just talk about that on the show?
No. It's not the right time. It's not the right time. But so let's go back to this. So do you agree with me or not agree with me about the yearning and depth of wanting to be connected to somebody?
So is the question, do people yearn for a better relationship and feel like if they stay in a relationship? Tell me again, help me with the question. Formulate the question for me so I can answer it directly.
Michael believes that we are biologically not supposed to be in relationship with one person for the rest of our lives.
Okay, so let me look at relationships at a couple different levels. I think emotionally, you can connect with someone and stay connected with them your entire life. I think where here's the difference maybe between men and women. I think from a physical perspective, I think that there is some level of physical pulling for one from a male perspective to mate with another woman. I think from an emotional perspective, oh my gosh, yes, the idea of being emotionally connected to somebody is amazing. The thought, however, and the thought of that is great. The idea of having sex with only one person the rest of my life, that's one that needs work. That's the part for me that's like, because, okay, let's go back to the beginning of our relationship when we were in that honeymoon phase where it was like anything that I would do would turn you on. And it's like, holy shit, I just want to get with her, and I could be as assertive, not aggressive. I could be as assertive as I possibly wanted to be and not feel any hesitation for it. Now I'm like, then all of those, now in my head, all of those other factors enter in. Well, she's been working really hard today, and I know that she's been to the gym, and she probably doesn't want to. She probably feels like she's a little dirty. And, it's like so. Like now that level of sensitivity enters where before I'm like, I don't give a shit. Get those clothes off and let's get to it. So from a physical perspective, it's like the challenge is building that case in my head where I want to say, yeah, this is great. I don't see the farting. I don't see all of the things. Life happens. So from a physical perspective, I think that's where I need the work. From an emotional perspective, I want to do the work.
So I didn't think about it until after we were done, and we probably should send this show to Michael to listen so he can do some rebuttal on his own. But, what I did say is that he hadn't gone through Imago yet. On a physical level, on a straight biology level, I would agree that men are supposed to spread their seed. But that was for reproduction. We are overly populated right now, people.
Yeah, but genetically, you don't realize that you're overpopulated.
Right. Okay, so it's a difference between, let's say, our adrenals. We have a fight or flight response, and it's there to protect us, and it's there to save our lives. However, most people are using it too much in life, which is why there's adrenal fatigue and people having a lot of issues right now with hormones and weight loss and sleep and anxiety, because most people have this illusion of fight or flight because of freaking emails in their inbox, or because of a deadline financially. But you actually are truly not in danger, and we are misusing and overusing our chemicals in our brain and our body, our adrenals, in a situation that is actually not life or death. They are there for life or death. So I'm going to say biologically, we have... Yes, you have an impulse to spread your seed, to populate the planet, and to keep our species going. Our species is not in danger of extinction. So then we move to the consciousness level of what makes us different than animals.
Somebody tell that to my privates. That's the challenge. It's like, holy shit, it's like, okay. It's easy to get turned on when you're a guy, and it's one of those things where it's just like, geez, I wish that didn't happen, or I feel like, oh man, I don't. I want to not. No, I don't. Here's the battle. The battle is you want to feel like a man, so you want that to be able to be your feeling that you have. Obviously, there is some the emotional side that kicks in that says, well, you're not going to do that. So what So no matter how attracted I was to my past wife, I was completely closed to everything outside. But that didn't mean that if I saw a sexy woman, I would not have thoughts.
Of course, that's your biology.
Right.
A lot of us have a million thoughts every day we don't act on. And it's not that you couldn't masturbate or you couldn't use that as a way to make a better sex relationship with your partner. I mean, we're going to hopefully be taking Harville Hendrix. I mean, I'm intending to take it. We're doing everything I possibly can to manifest getting into that workshop, which I waited a little too long to sign up for. And now we're hopefully being bumped to the top of the wait list, which means we're going to go. But if for some reason we don't, you and I will work on together. We will read the book. We will do all of the exercises in the workbook and report back. But, when it comes to our consciousness, that next level, after that, maybe we'll work with Dr. Jane, because it's not because you and I are having the best sex of our life together.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean it can't be improved, and we don't want it to get worse, and we want it to get better, and everybody needs to be satisfied. Women, there's a meet in the middle. We did the whole, blowtorch oven episode, and there is a meet in the middle. There is an understanding that yes, your unit is on the outside of you. You are stimulated all the time. That is fine, and maybe you need to masturbate more. Or maybe marriage isn't for you, and maybe you know that.
I got it on my schedule.
Perfect. And and there's a give and take. There's times where a woman needs something for a man to do for you to make them more ready, or to help them get more ready for sex. And then there are other times that women just realize that's how your man expresses love and connection. And even if you're not in the mood, you can figure out how to get yourself in the mood, because that's what you do for your partner. But it's the compromise, it's the coming together, it's the understanding all these parts and pieces. And it's doing a little bit of work on how to release any resistance or resentment or guilt or fear that you've had. It's putting words to it. It's processing your emotions instead of ignoring them and suppressing them, which only makes them bigger and worse and makes everything not move forward. So the question still on the table was, take biology aside.
Right.
Because now I'm moving into the consciousness, emotional, and spiritual part of the evolution of our consciousness, which has been happening for 30-some years.
Then I'm going to disagree with Michael then. So if the question is it possible for a man and a woman to have a relationship that is just the two of them forever, I would say from an emotional perspective, I think yes.
But, okay, I agree with you, but is the question, like underneath that is the yearning that I think we all have as humans to have such a depth of connection.
Yes, I think that I want that depth of connection. I don't want a surface level relationship. I'm not looking to have fun and enjoy myself, and that is it, and then just go home and watch television on the sofa by myself for the next week because I've been able to fulfill that obligation or that need to find that I can't have emotional connection with somebody that I'm casually having a relationship with.
Right. And to be fair, I think that a lot of people maybe aren't aware that they have that yearning. Like our exes and other people that I like, even Michael. I think Michael's in denial about his yearning, quite honestly. I mean, a little bit. I love him. And I love you. You're hearing this, Michael.
Well, for somebody that is as sensitive as he is, I think that he probably does have he may not realize it, but I think he has a desire and a pull towards having an emotional connection. Or maybe he just hasn't found the right partner to have that emotional connection with, and he doesn't realize it because he has chosen partners that might not have been, healing the wounds of his past.
Right. Well, I don't think he knows what those are yet. Again, we talked about that he hasn't done the Imago yet. He doesn't know what his wounds are from his past that he needs to heal through relationship. I know you're going to come out of the Imago workshop, whether we do it with Harville or we do it together ourselves, with like a whole new relationship to this whole process. Because of, again, almost the proof that I'm sure on a scientific level, if he does want us to read the book before we get there, so maybe we'll talk about it here. So, okay, so that was kind of to recap a little bit about what happened last week because I felt like I wanted to talk with you a little bit more about it. I mean, I want to talk with Mike a little bit more, but we're at 54 minutes, and I thought, I don't know, I've never done an hour and a half long episode yet, so I've done close to that. Harville's show was an hour and 15.
For more 55-plus minute episodes, go to the Nice Guys on Business podcast episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays.
No, you guys do 35 minutes.
I know, but every once in a while we get stuck. God, go back to some of those old ones. We would have like these 90-minute power sessions of just complete fuckery for 90 minutes. I'm like, did we have anything of value for anybody?
Nope, just entertainment. Just pure entertainment that no one gives a shit about what the hell you're saying, Anyway, so I also wanted to share a process that we did right before we started recording. I definitely wanted to utilize some of this drive time to do a podcast. Because I thought it'd be cool since we hadn't done it before. And because we always have great conversations about stuff. And it's a way to share what's on, what's true and alive for me right now. And one of the things that I wanted to commit to, that we've agreed to commit to, is the process that we're doing, the Mae McCarthy process, the abundance intuition process. Because we're driving, I said, well, why don't we do it out loud? Which is actually a version of what I already do. It's an appreciation game. But instead of making it just a blanket appreciation, we use the letter to the CSO, your Chief Spiritual Officer. And what we did for the first time ever was we did it together as a couple, which I thought was really cool and a good idea.
It was good. It was almost like, thank you, baby. It was, you say one sentence, I say the next, you say one sentence, I say the next, and you build on a letter of appreciation or a letter of accomplishment or a letter of intention. I guess the perspective of, well, why don't you talk about the makeup of it? Just so have you already done that in previous episodes?
Absolutely. Everybody, if you listen to any of these shows in order, you've already heard Abundance and Intuition with Mae McCarthy and the 4-step process, and I think I've mentioned it in 3 other episodes.
Why don't you just share it one more time, just in case people are tuning on for the first time?
The 4-step process is that you read something inspirational for about 5 to 8 minutes. And then the next step, number 2, is that you journal and you write a letter to your CSO, your Chief Spiritual Officer, otherwise known as, for some of you, God, Source, Creator, Buddha, whoever, universe. You write this letter because you acknowledge that you have somebody on your side, someone taking care of you, somebody helping you, somebody transmitting information and intuition and ideas to you. It's not just you. And so you're writing to your intuition or to, God, and thanking in advance as if it's already happened. And you can do bullet points, you can do paragraphs, there's no exact form. And sometimes, Doug and I have done this process where sometimes he does bullet points, sometimes he does paragraphs, and I normally do bullet points. But and you're really getting into the appreciation that it's already happened and you're currently living it, and you're just appreciating that you've co-created it with your CSO. So that's step number 2.
Can I just say, as we're driving along here, this is the most fucking beautiful country that we possibly could be in. We're driving between Santa Cruz and Los Angeles, and it appears that we're entering the wine country. I guess is this mid-state? What do you call that? Mid-state?
Central Coast.
Central Coast, and we're just going through the rolling hills and
vineyard. There's a vineyard right there.
Vineyard on both the left and the right. We are cutting the center of a very large field of grapevines. And now it is winter, so there are no grapes on the vines, but it is just so amazingly cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. It's just a beautiful country we live in. God bless America. America.
Yeah, I didn't want you to say that one that way. And thank God you're in California. Okay. We appreciate that you're in California, Doug.
Thank you, CSO.
You're welcome. All right, that was step 2. Step 3 of the process is that you read your letter out loud. And if you're doing it by yourself, I recommend you do it into the mirror. We do it together, so we read it to each other. Step 4 is then you spend a little time visualizing and, again, kind of acclimating your brain to all of your senses being involved in this process and in the reality that you just thank the CSO for, because it makes it more real to all of your cells and your body because, again, whether you're dreaming it or thinking about it or you're in it, your body doesn't know the difference. It's how you're responding to it. So the visualization piece is how you get it into your frequency even more. And because I'm driving and we just decided that we do it out loud with each other and create it as we went, and it was really fun.
It was fun. I liked it very much.
So for those of you in relationship, so here was my question, which sparked this idea to record right now. What's the time right now?
We're 30 minutes in.
Okay. My question to you, Doug, is that I know a lot of women who get into these processes. I've got a lot more women than men, although guys, maybe I don't know about you because you don't speak to me like the women do, but I'd love to hear from you. I know I have some. I get emails from some of you, and I've got a bunch of men in the 30-day manifestation challenge, and I've got male clients, but the majority are women that are communicating. And a lot of women want better relationships with their husbands, and they want to be able to present information like this or ask their spouse or boyfriend or whomever to do this with them. What would you think is the most effective way? Now, mind you, everyone, Doug doesn't have as much resistance as a lot of men.
I was listening to, again, don't want to out any names here, but I think there is someone that is in your contact list right now that is in regular communication with you, talking about whether they were going to come to the event or not. And basically the spouse's response was, sure, if you want to go ahead and spend your money spend your vacation money on going to that's fine. And I guess this is just going to be the end of our marriage. Isn't that basically what he said?
Yeah. She said that her husband said that he felt like if she came to my event, that she would leave him or their relationship would be over.
Yeah. How about because, dude, you suck? Okay. How about that? How about because you closed to the opportunity or the possibility that you actually could improve your relationship? Can't you see that maybe your wife is looking for something better out of the relationship, and maybe that should be your signal that you got to fucking man up and get some help and do some shit with the relationship before it fails. Fuck you, dude. What the hell?
All right.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
That was cool.
I just get a little emotional when somebody is like, yeah, you want to go to this self-improvement cult-like thing. Of course you're going to be doing this just because you want to wreck our relationship, but go ahead and do it. Yeah, stir the pot a little bit.
Well, and it's fear. It's just fear-based. And
yeah, that's true. Sorry.
He's afraid.
Sorry, I got a little taken away there.
Well, but that's how I have felt about, people that go, I don't want to do anything. It's like, okay, then just stay your miserable self the way you are. And, but at the end of the day, it is fear. And it's not my job to get people out of fear who are unwilling to get out of fear. That's your journey to walk.
And if you're on the woman's side of that, if you're the one that wants to get the help and be improved and do it, you do the work. Just do the work. Just do the work. Do it on your own. Do it without him. Unfortunately, do your best you can to bring him in, but if he's not going to do it, just do the work, knowing that possibly when you do the work, the changes that are going to be made are going to be changes in you, and that might even bring your, elevate the frequency of your partner to elevate to you.
You can actually change your relationship by yourself. Like, you can influence your partner, and I've done it, and I did it. And because I was doing it, now, did it ultimately get me where I thought I wanted to be?
Absolutely. It got you exactly where you were supposed
He's right.
to be.
No, actually, you're right. You're right.
Got you exactly.
I'm glad you interrupted me, because you're absolutely right. Because Abraham would say that you're not supposed to control the how. You're focused on the what. You're focused on the feeling. You're focused on the what. What is it that you want? What is it that you believe that you can have? And I absolutely said this in the show last week. Absolutely believed 100% that I was going to get what I wanted. It is not my job to control how I get it. So it absolutely did lead me to exactly what I knew I would have.
Can we stop at the rest area in 13 miles?
We can.
Okay,
it just
good.
looks different than what I thought it would look. So the question on the table, let's say the person isn't quite as bad as the person you just outlined. Let's say the person is the normal average person who has fear and doesn't either talk about it or make threatening remarks. What would be the best way for a woman in this situation? I'm going to speak for the women because they're the ones that talk to me more, guys. Although, no, what was it? No, we had that couple. Anyway, so what, Doug, what would it be the best way to phrase for a woman, because I've done this with you, although of course I ask you to listen to the show, like just listen to the show, without listening to a podcast, or maybe that is the right way. Let's give some strategies to women out there, and then to influence, to ask, to request in a non-threatening, non-demanding, non-victim way. For their man to participate and do something like what we just did today.
Okay, so what works for me may not work for everybody, but what works for me is when I'm asked, not manipulated. So I can share that instead of threatening and putting your foot down or saying, I'm going to this, I hope you will join me, or I would say ask. Have a conversation about it. Be open to the possibility that you're going to get resistance. You will get resistance. You already know going into the environment if you're going to get resistance from your spouse or not, because you know your spouse better than we know your spouse as two podcasters here. So what is it that works for your spouse in any other environment? I promise sex. I don't know. Don't use it as a leverage. Certainly it's great. What I would say is ask, don't demand, provide information. I love to know, well, what is the end game? What are we looking to achieve? Like, can we talk about why we're going to this to begin with? Be open to the possibility that whatever it is that you are looking for may not be the same thing that your spouse or your partner is going to be looking for out of that conference. Also, be ready for some level of resistance, because you're approaching the situation potentially like there is a problem, and your significant other may not even realize that there is a problem to begin with. Come to this conference with me because I would really like to better our relationship. I think that we have areas that we need improvement. That might be approaching somebody and saying, maybe my perspective, I look at it and say, shit, I didn't realize we were having problems.
Right. Well, let's say the person does know. I think I had an idea. There are law of attraction ways to approach this ahead of time to release your resistance, because if you do look for him to have resistance, you'll manifest that he's going to have resistance.
All right.
But what about, I like what you said about look what the end game is, because it's that, it's that creation of your relationship together. And I think, how would this sound for you? If I was to say to you, let's take the imago therapy, although I didn't have to try with that. But let's say I said, Doug, our sex life's pretty good and our relationship's pretty good, but we're really in the beginning stages right now. Or let's say we've been together a long time. I think we have it pretty good, but I really feel like I'd love to go to another level. I think that we could have even better sex, maybe even more sex, and we could even improve.
Now you're talking my language.
Right. So maybe for you ladies it's not sex, but maybe it is. Maybe it's a connection that would lead to sex. Like if you felt more deeply connected and seen and celebrated by your partner, you would feel inspired to have more sex, which is probably ultimately what he wants.
Well, I think very similar to probably the last relationship, or the relationship that you had with your ex-to-be, and the relationship I had with my ex now. It's like I can remember when we had those challenges with communication, and you recommended that I read 5 Love Languages. And I wanted in the worst way for her just to pick up the book and read it so that I could.
Did you ever ask her?
Yes, I asked her.
And she said no?
No, I mean, she wouldn't do it.
And what was the reason?
I don't know what the reason was. Maybe she thought it was so far beyond being able to help our relationship that what fuck good would a book do?
So if it's in our time where I was training you.
Yeah, it was totally then.
She had already decided probably by then that she was done.
Yes.
But I would have loved to have you, and look, if we had to go back in time, I would have loved to have you ask her why. Like, why are you unwilling to read this? Because actually your relationship might have ended sooner, possibly, or you would have overcome the resistance, and maybe that you guys would have gotten help.
I'd like to think that if she gave any chance of working at it, that there would not have been because I was so in love and because I was so involved in the relationship and wanting it to get better, but just didn't have the tools, didn't know how, didn't know really the communicate. It's like we were both approaching this as complete newbies. It's like I had no idea going through my relationship unconscious, she not knowing how to fix the relationship, blaming a lot of shit on me as the reason why, or even though many of the problems that she probably had with the relationship were her-centered, we both approached this from a perspective of being newbies and not knowing how to fix it. So I didn't know how. I don't know what the words I would have used. If I was listening to this show right now and I was me when I was with her, I don't know how I would have approached it any differently than I did, other than saying, I'd love to know what your love language is. Can you read the book? She just didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I left like 7 copies around I remember I kept moving the copy of Chapman's book, 5 Love Languages. I kept moving it around the house, hoping that she would pick it up. Never. Always in the same spot. Never picking it up. I'm like, shit, this is not working.
So, and in your responses, I have a few now too. I wanted women and men to hear your point of view, and I also wanted to hear what you had to say, which has stimulated ideas for me. So let's do the scenario, ladies, that you have a man who is resistant to everything. That's for a couple different reasons. Men play for points, and when they're not winning and they can't ever win, then they don't want to play anymore. And that's what happened to me. So I was probably not very good about giving points and acknowledging and celebrating the things that were working or things that were good, maybe in a meaningful way that was received by my partner. I absolutely did it to myself in a journal, because that's how I was able to be compassionate and understanding and patient and loving and just sort of knowing and trusting and believing in our situation. So, but I would find, that's actually a good point. Find what your partner's love language is and see if you can communicate in a way that's meaningful to them. And then if they say no, then work on yourself and know that the best way to influence others is to be the example, because nobody wants to be told, who was it recently? Somebody recently, I remember looking at them and I thought, you are such a hypocrite. Somebody did something and I was like, that is so out of alignment with what you teach or what you say to people. And it just bothered me. And people pick up on that, which is why, a lot of people want to tell everyone else what they should do, but they don't actually live it. Or they don't practice it themselves. So the best way is just work on yourself. You can't lose anything if you do that. You will be happier no matter what situation you're in, and you will attract other things to help you stay in that positive place, and your relationship will change, hopefully for the better.
Okay,
that's going to conclude today's episode of In the Car. And
on the road with Doug and JJ.
Women, men, and relationships on the road. On the Highway 1 and the 101. And
what future topics are we going to have to talk about?
Oh my gosh, so much stuff is coming up. Hopefully by the next time we have a show, we will be driving or getting ready to drive up to Big Sur to attend Harville's Imago Therapy. And if we are not, here's what I'm going to commit to.
Okay.
Here's what I'm going to ask you to commit to.
I'm committed.
If we do not attend that event because of divine guidance and timing saying this is not the right moment in time
we
for
can
you.
camp out at the event and make them take us.
I told them I'd be in a sleeping bag. I'm like, anything I can do to be there. Okay, so let's if we for some reason we are not able to attend it, would you be willing to take that same time we were going to dedicate to being there to do the work at home?
Sure.
And actually not even at home. We'll go somewhere. We'll go to Ojai. We'll take the book. We'll take the workbook and we'll read it together and out loud, and we'll do the exercises. And we will go through our own created Imago Therapy weekend if we are not able to attend.
Okay, baby.
Great. So whether we're driving to Santa Cruz or to Ojai, by the time you hear us next time, we're going to be gearing up for an experience, a deeper dive into relationships and how to make the best one you possibly can to enjoy the life you have while you're here.
Okay. Well, until next time.
Until next time.
We love you.
Bye.